Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do 10 very cool prompts that you should be doing as an educator with ChatGPT, and let's get into the action. So, what specific skills or knowledge should students acquire by the end of this lesson? This is a classic prompt, and we're going to see what ChatGPT brings up for us. Of course, you should always ask this question ahead of any type of lesson, just so you're thinking about the content for the lesson and what's going to be included and what you really totally expect students to learn. So let's see what ChatGPT brings up for us. And ChatGPT sometimes takes a minute to generate a response, so just be patient. And with this response, you can see it will be as specific as you create your profile with ChatGPT, but it talks about having a clear understanding of the topic, a practical application, critical thinking, engagement measures, retention and recall, communication skills, creativity, and innovation. So those are all kind of in digital literacy as well. So those are all kind of great things to think about that you want to bring to a lesson plan. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT here to please regenerate a response for a lesson on the Civil War. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to show you how you really need to take it another level sometimes and be more specific with your content area in order for ChatGPT to be really effective to give you what you really might need. So as you can see right here, it generates a very specific response around understanding the American Civil War. It gives me a lesson outline with lesson objectives, lesson content, an introduction, causes, major events, key figures, impact and aftermath. It also has assessment options, possible discussion questions. It's just a very simple answer that you need to think about pushing ChatGPT a little further every single time you use it, specifically with prompts that are kind of generic. So if you get a generic prompt, you really want to push it to try to get even more specifics around what you really want to include in the lesson, not just allow ChatGPT to do its basic generation on a very flat idea, but push it to ask assessment questions, push it to kind of really dig down deep. So let's get into doing another one. So how can this lesson build upon what students have already learned? Give me ideas for connecting new information to prior knowledge. So of course, in teaching and learning, it's incredibly important to connect past knowledge, prior knowledge in the class, to the new knowledge that you're going to be providing students. So let's see what ChatGPT gives us initially. Taking a second to generate a response. So it's giving us review and recap as a way of bringing back prior knowledge in the lesson. Making connections using analogies. Providing context. Encourage reflections. Use visual aids. So what you can see here is these are all strategies offer challenging exercises. So these are all ways that you can build upon prior knowledge and use these strategies. So what ChatGPT is giving you here is strategies, ways to kind of reconnect prior learning with new learning, foster discussion, use storytelling, provide resources. So now I'm going to ask about give me some activities for my French class that will connect prior learning to their new knowledge. So I'm trying here to be a little bit more specific. I'm including a very specific curriculum, just generally French. I'm going to get a little bit more detailed in the next prompt. But when you start to add very specific curriculum, you're going to get specific curriculum answers. So here you're going to get a little deeper answer that's related to the content area you provide. So you see using analogies, provide context, and here we go. So for the French class, we can see it's, expanding upon existing vocabulary the students knew, story continuation, compare and contrast, role playing, word association, picture descriptions, crossword puzzles, themed writing, cultural comparisons, group discussions, timeline activity, interactive quizzes, create dialogues, music and songs, real life applications. So these are all recommendations based off that French curriculum in general. but it's a lot of great examples of how you could use it across any curriculum type to connect prior learning to the current activity. So now I'm going to ask ChatGPT to please outline a timeline activity. So here I'm asking to please outline a timeline activity which will support my French 1 students in better understanding French culture. So we're going to see what ChatGPT provides for a timeline activity for my students in a French 1 class to better understand culture. Let's see what generates. Here we're getting pretty much a full lesson. We're getting an objective, materials, instructions, step 1 instructions, step 2 brainstorming, step 3 research, step 4 actually creating the timeline, step 5 is the presentation, step 6 is reflection. So ChatGPT has been able to elaborate on the prompt I gave them specific to that French 1 understanding of improving their understanding of culture. So now I'm going to go in and ask to please elaborate, which is a great term that I use with ChatGPT. Please elaborate on the extension activity within the lesson. Now I'm asking this so that you can see that you can pick a very specific part of a lesson and actually have them elaborate on it. So what it's doing here is it's pumping out the entire lesson again, but what it's doing is it's adding additional details to the extension activity and how it reinforced student learning. And they've included that portion on the bottom. So sometimes what you'll see in ChatGPT when it does generate, it will regenerate the whole thing, but you'll see an additional component around what you asked. So here it talks more about the extension activity, that how it reinforces students what they've learned about French culture and also encourages them to make personal connections to the subject matter. It fosters critical thinking to express their individual perspectives and interests, making their language learning experience more meaningful and enjoyable. So that is the elaboration on what the benefits of that extension activity is. So here I'm going to put in to suggest ways to adapt this lesson to meet the needs of diverse needs of students, including those with learning disabilities or different cultural backgrounds. So I'm asking this prompt specifically so that you really want to be able to develop lesson plans that do address diverse student needs, maybe students who have specific disabilities, and maybe you also want to have an element of cultural sensitivity to a topic. All are very important parts to build into a lesson plan, and ChatGPT can help you do that by focusing in on that topic. So they provided some information here on differentiated instruction to actually start off. You see that as the number 1 item that they included in their response here. You see visual aids and multisensory learning, simplify language and provide support. So all great recommendations for lesson development that you might miss if you were just developing a lesson on your own, or if you want to specifically target a component of a lesson, ChatGPT can help you do that. You also see group work and peer support, which is another huge part of developing a lesson, really an effective lesson if you're going to have students doing group work and working together. Flexible assessment, of course, very important to meet diverse learning needs. Cultural sensitivity, very important to meet diverse learning needs. Supportive resources that are going to support this type of modifications to your instruction. Individual education plans and 504 plans, what types of accommodations are necessary within the lesson. Scaffolded and guided practice, how are you going to build the lesson in scaffold learning experiences. Continuous assessment and feedback. Cultural inclusive materials. Emotional support. So this is a great list of items that can help support ways to support diverse learning needs, students with learning disabilities, and a variety of cultural backgrounds. So a great list here generated, and you could push this a little further. You could ask more specific questions. If you had a specific need in your classroom, you definitely could ask a follow-up question to this type of prompt. And keep pushing. So here I'm going to ask ChatGPT to give me activities or discussion points that would make this lesson more engaging for students. Okay. So it's really important to have interactive and engaging lessons when you're developing lessons, and maybe you need new ideas for developing lessons, and you want to make sure they're engaging. You want to make sure they're layered with activities that are specific to your curriculum. You also want to make sure that they fit the age group, which you can also put into ChatGPT as be specific to age. So here we have cultural artifacts, time travel, cultural explorations, creative explorations. So they're giving us a ton here of ideas. We see exit tickets, cultural quizzes. So give me activities or discussion points that would make this lesson more engaging for students. Cultural artifacts, time travel interviews, cultural cuisine, creative visual timelines, mystery events, debate historical choices, cultural exchange of stories, art appreciation, virtual field trips, music and dance, guest speakers, current events discussions, cross-cultural comparisons, scenario-based problem solving, an incredible learning opportunity there. So a wide range of activities that could support any type of lesson, and then you could actually use that prompt and follow it up with your specific grade level curriculum, and even continue to fine-tune the prompt based on what you really want it to be. So what are some methods to assess student learning during and after this lesson? What kinds of feedback can be effective? Another great prompt. So it's really important to develop a wide range of assessment styles. So classroom discussions, peer assessment, formative and summative assessments. Here we have a great list of assessment types and feedback strategies. Based on the prompt of what are some methods to assess student learning during and after this lesson, and what kinds of feedback can be effective. So we have the discussions, peer assessments, formative quizzes, interactive activities, traditional assessments after, project evaluations, reflective journals, peer review, another great one. And in terms of reflective strategies, timely feedback, very important. Clear and specific feedback, also very important. Rubrics, self-assessment, peer feedback, individual conferences. And also remember that you can continue to push ChatGPT if you want to help develop rubric areas. ChatGPT can do that as well. That's super helpful, especially if you have specific areas. You can use ChatGPT to help you write appropriate language for the rubrics and kind of fine-tune that language to what you really want. But it's really important here with this type of prompt that it gives you a lot of different options for the ways you might want to assess student learning with any type of lesson. So just be sure that if you use a prompt like this, you're also very specific to the curriculum and grade level that you're thinking about doing it with, and you're going to get a better response if you do that as well. So just remember, be specific, continue to prompt ChatGPT based on what you really want it to provide for you. So we're going to provide a suggested sequence for lesson elements for maximum impact. How can I balance lecture, discussion, and hands-on activities? So here we have introduction, pre-assessment, lecture and content presentation, interactive discussion, group work, mini presentations, reflections, hands-on activities. So this is a breakdown and ending up with wrap-up discussion, homework extension, closing remarks, post-assessment, and providing feedback. So this is a very extensive list of a sequence of instruction and what can be included within the sequence of instruction in terms of assessments, discussions, activity time, wrap-up discussions, follow-up. You can build in different strategies within this framework. You could even then reprompt ChatGPT. So here we're going to ask, how long should this lesson take? What are some plans for early finishers or contingencies if the lesson runs longer than expected? So here we're going to break out the lesson into sections with a number of time, introduction and pre-assessment, lecture and content, hands-on activity, group work, reflection and wrap-up discussion. And it also includes a plan for early finishers so that you can have something for those students to work on. And this is definitely going to matter, different curriculum to curriculum, but this is definitely provide you with a great start for if you're designing a lesson that might have multiple layers to it. Here, you can definitely begin to frame out and think about how much each part of this lesson is going to be and what you're going to add to each part. And you could even ask ChatGPT to continue to refine this lesson based on what you want. There's also those additional contingencies, which are great to have. Adjust timing, prioritize essential content, homework assignments, rescheduling or splitting the lesson, assessment modifications, adapt and recap. So these are some great lesson design instructions that can be used with any type of lesson to kind of push the depth of the lesson so that it has modifications for all learners. So what resources like books, technology, or props do I need for this lesson? This is another great prompt here that's going to actually provide you with an idea of the resources that you might need to have for a lesson. And the follow-up is, are they readily available? So, you might have resources that might not be readily available for a lesson, but it's great to have that full list, or a list that is at least helping you kind of develop materials prepared for the next level of a lesson, and what that might look like. So here, ChatGPT has generated for us, what resources like books, technology, or prompts do I need for this lesson? Are they readily available? So books and reference materials, technology outline, a classroom supplies list, visual aids, multimedia equipment that you might need for the lesson, and also props optional. So if you're having a hands-on activity, what props would you need? What's going to add value to the lesson? So here we're going to do, can you list real-world examples or problems that you can incorporate to make the lesson more relevant to students' needs? So this is another great prompt, because you definitely want to make a lesson more relevant with real-world examples. And this prompt is going to help you do that. Can you list real-world examples or problems I can incorporate to make the lesson more relevant? So of course, cultural adaptation scenario, a language learning challenge, current cultural trends, French business practice. So this is being specific to that French course that I'm talking about, that I'm using as an example. Cultural comparisons, tourism and travel planning, French cultural influence, environmental issues. So lots of different stuff there. But now we're going to move into, what methods can I use to reflect on the effectiveness of this lesson and after it's completed? Should I adjust the lesson for future classes based on this reflection? So this is a prompt that's great for making your lessons more adaptable, helping you adjust on the fly, reflect on your own lesson, and continuously improve on the lesson design. So for your own reflection, what methods can I use to reflect on the effectiveness of this lesson after it's completed? How should I adjust the lesson for future classes based on this reflection? So here we have self-reflection, student feedback to help inform your instruction, assessment data, observations, and adjustments based on reflections can be refining the content, timing adjustments, maybe some parts of the lesson need to be longer, engagement enhancement, assessment revision, feedback incorporated, resource evaluation. So those are 10 great prompts to help push you as an educator in the area of your lesson development. Those are going to help you not only create more engaging lessons, but also to create more engaging lessons for a wide range of learners, and also better plan your activities and have a really great list of things as you continue to prompt ChatGPT for additional questions. These were really just all examples. You really need to push them for a grade level and content area specifics in order to get really the answers you need. This provides a really amazing framework for lesson development. So I definitely highly suggest trying it out. Thanks for checking out the video. Please like and subscribe if you got this far, and I appreciate you checking. Thanks for checking out the video. I appreciate it you got this far, and please like and subscribe if you